Welcome to this most memorable episode. I'm calling it before it even gets going here, Doug. This is going to be a memorable episode of Deep Tech. Our first topic, of course, is the We Robot event. For those of you who didn't see, they announced the Robotaxi, this being no pedals, no steering wheel, two-seater with a trunk, and it is available at the earliest late 26, so call it 2 years away. Disappointment for investors on that topic, given the hope was that they would be more whites of the eye, kind of 1 year out. And then separately, the other topic was that they did not talk about the more affordable low-end vehicle, whether that's a stripped-down Model 3 or a Model 2. And that's despite that being Elon's topic on their last earnings call, when he said it will be available in mid 25, maybe early 25, maybe even late 24. So shares of Tesla down, call it 8% on those two. There's a lot of like the real substance, but I just want to set the groundwork. We're kind of tuned into what's going on with the near term psychology on this, and I'll bring it over to you. Before we talk about kind of the big picture and the long term, do you think this is the appropriate reaction to those two dynamics?
I think it's the appropriate reaction in the sense of this is probably what we should have maybe expected to happen re the stock, which is we didn't get anything that wasn't sort of expected. We could talk about Optimus, but from the robo taxi standpoint, I think it was largely as people expected. And we talked about this before, but right, any timelines that would have come out, you pad them a little bit, just given the optimism that
You
Elon kind of
wanted to say 1 year,
admitted
then
to.
you pad it to 2 years. It's 2 years padded to three now.
And I think Elon he's made it maybe a trend now, but he kind of teases himself about his
Mm-hmm.
optimistic timelines too. Everybody knows it is kind of the point. And so the bottom line is, stock's down 8%. Why? Because I think there just wasn't anything meaningfully additional from that event that wasn't already expected or built into the stock.
Or not meaningful additional, but also meaningfully was missing with the
Missing with
lower
the lower price.
form
Yep.
factor. And in my sense, that being at the event and is that they are still going to do some form of a lower end vehicle. I think that the Osborne effect is probably somewhat in play here. They don't want to talk it up too much. It's probably not going to be out till end of 26, maybe 27. But there's not a lot in it for Tesla to really promote this less expensive vehicle right now, because it really does risk some of sales of like Model Y and Model 3. So that all makes sense. I think in due time, investors will hear more about that. I expect that on the 23rd when they report their quarter. Then, of course, they showed the van. I think this was actually, before we get to the van, just one thing on the Cybercab. It's awesome. It is. It still needs work. The autonomy piece was curated, so it felt extra special, just given that they were in this controlled environment. So I know all of that, but it is just the form factor. It really hit it, and I think that it's going to resonate with consumers. I just want to give Tesla credit. Product is awesome. I think it's going to have. It will resonate. The one that was not awesome in my view was the Robovan. Felt like a living room on
Robovin.
wheels.
I believe it's the Robovin.
Robovan,
If you
thank you.
use Elon's saying, yeah.
He's good. He has a gift at naming things. The Robovan, it's like bucket seats surrounding a table. It just had this really awkward feel, and there's definitely a place in the market for higher capacity vehicle like this, for autonomous, for 5 to 10 people. 20 is kind of a weird number in my book, and just the whole setup, it's just goofy. Like, just build a van that looks like normal van, and or maybe you'll put Tesla's flair on it and hot sauce. But so my sense is, don't put much weight in this. Obviously, they didn't give any timing on when it came to the van. I think all Elon said is we're just going to do it. But I'm going to jump in the interest of time and get your take on Optimus, because I was walking out uh, saw the demo, got fooled by the what I think is the teleoperator. Even if you back that out, pretty impressive what's going on with Optimus.
I mean, it seemed like they made pretty drastic steps from the actual robot and its ability to move in space, just in general, right? Whether it
Mm-hmm.
was teleoperated, whether it was autonomous. I don't know that that matters that much. I know people who are hypercritical of Tesla will probably get on them for that, but I think that kind of misses the bigger picture, which is that this Optimus thing is much more real now today than it was a year ago when people were in robo suits, right, dancing around. I
Yeah,
mean,
I
this is
thought
a real
initially I
robot.
thought they were when they were 20 yards away. I was convinced that there were humans dancing in robo suits.
Yeah, I think that level of progress, right, and whatever timelines we think about putting on it in terms of when these actually get
Two
out to
years
market.
probably.
Yeah, like it's going to take maybe more time. Maybe it ends up being 3, but I do think that there is maybe a meaningful product here. I think we do still have to actually see, when or where is this going to be implemented. There have been other robots out there, not necessarily humanoid robots, but right. I mean, factories are driven by robots now. At Amazon, Boston Dynamics has had various formats of robots that never really took off. And so I think that question is still outstanding, which is, okay, this is cool. This is great technology. We've come a long way. We'll get the autonomy piece. I mean, that will happen eventually too. But where will we really implement them? Where will we start to see the first killer use cases? I think that is still an outstanding question.
Definitely, and I think when uh, another dynamic to this, as I've been talking to other people about it, is I think there's just still concern around humans and what these humanoids are going to ultimately mean for us. And it's not as easy as bringing like an iRobot into your house, bringing one of these. And Elon talked about that $25,000 to $30,000 price point, which is, he said, hopefully achievable, which means we're 10 plus years away from that. But I think there's also a conversation around the robots of just do people want to have these humanoids walking around their home? So um, for a different day, I think just the big picture, what I left with at the most time burying the lead here was that I think the debate whether Tesla is a tech company has now been decided, and we can move on for whatever that's worth in the conversation. They're pushing the envelope harder than anybody in automotive. I'll give you final word.
I don't think I can add anything useful other than that.
Love
Let's
it.
move on.
Second topic, and a normal week this would have been a huge topic, but this the Department of Justice kind of giving suggestions to Google that they should be breaking up Android. They should be changing their commercial agreements with Android partners. This could be related to how they're paying TAC, how they're distributing Android with relationships with like Samsung and bundling, and ultimately kind of getting to the mobile search piece. Mobile search is just under 60% of total Google search revenue comes from mobile. And it just feels to me this concept of trying to break off the Android piece, which really doesn't have a sustained business model in of itself. But how do you even like start to take these things apart? I mean, is it even possible? Not
If
from like Google's perspective, but from a regulator. I mean, what would be even their approach?
I think if there's a will, there's a way. They'll figure something out. I think is probably the answer to the question of possibility. Um, do I think that's going to happen? I go back to one of our analysts kind of looked back and uh, analyzed essentially what has happened in these breakup cases before. And basically, there's only been two large scale breakups in the last 100 years, I believe, or 120 years. It was Standard Oil, and then that was mandated by the government, and then the other one was AT&T, which was sort of their own agreement with the government before the government put a ruling down. So we've had two in the last 100 years, and that doesn't mean that Google won't get broken up, but I think it does speak to the complexities around actually doing it, like figuring out how do you do it, to your point, right, with the government. How do they decide which pieces can stand alone and how, so that they don't destroy shareholder value. But also, it's, we're going to hear these stories, and like we're all hyper aware of the DOJ and the FTC looking into the mega cap tech companies. And Google's probably not the last one that we're going to read a
Mhm.
story about this, where the government's thinking about what it would look like to break them up. I still would put odds against that actually happening, though, if I had to look out 2 to 3 years from now.
I'm not going to add much more to that. I think that if there is going to be some sort of a breakup, I think it's in the Google network business. It's 12% of revenue. It declined by 5% a year ago. This is the old, if you've really been following along for a while, this is essentially the old DoubleClick business. And to me, that's something logically that they could kind of break out, throw a bone to the regulators. That's where my money is if they do, in fact, have to break something out.
And
We're
that'd
going to
be a
jump to our
big who
final.
cares? That's yeah,
Yeah,
it
who
wouldn't
would
even
care about
matter.
that? I think
Yeah.
it's they'll do about 30 million, 30 billion. As I said, 12% of revenue. It's a small piece.
Gross. Yeah.
A final topic is a big week for Intelligent Alpha. Intelligent Alpha is, of course, the affiliate company with Deepwater that is using AI to pick stocks, and it's a big week because Doug, you had quite an honor to ring the bell, opening up the market. What's that like? Let's maybe take a half step back. Just what's it like to ring the bell?
It's fun. It's an experience. We did it with the Nasdaq, and it was incredible. It was fun. We got to have our family there. Gene was there.
Yeah,
We had a lot of
fun to be there.
our investors there. So it was an incredible experience. And I would kind of frame it this way, like when we started playing around just with using these modern large language models to pick stocks, I never thought about it becoming a company. And you fast forward, you experiment with something, you get curious, and I find that curiosity in many ways is the spark of starting a fun company. And here we are a year later, we got to ring the bell. And I think it's still just the beginning. If we think about AI more broadly, we've been saying we're in this kind of 2 to 4 year bull market. I think the same thing is true for companies that sort of emerge that are natively built to use AI, like Intelligent Alpha. I think we're going to see a ton of other companies realize that you can build really competitive businesses with less headcount, in very quick timeframes by using AI, by relying on
Mm.
AI out of the gate. It's the AI native company. We've kind of been talking about that a lot internally. And so I expect, we're going to see a lot more of those kinds of companies, and there's a lot more to come too from Intelligent Alpha in terms of products from our AI investment committee.
We did the internet native, did the mobile native, now AI native. Makes a ton of sense. Fun to see it. I believe that eventually 80% of our assets are going to be managed by humans, equities, and 20% by machines. So thanks for joining us for Deep Tech 315. Bye for now.